Most houses feel empty at night. Blackwood Estate felt like something inside it was waiting. Blackwood Estate stood against the night sky, dark and tall, with the full moon sitting right above it, like it had always belonged there. The silver light caught everything. The bare trees on both sides of the path, the old stone walls, the tall windows glowing a faint, cold blue from somewhere inside. Elias Thorne stopped at the edge of the yard and looked up the house. It was completely still, not the kind of still that meant empty, the kind that meant watching. He shifted the back on his shoulder, the leather creaking in the quiet. Standard poltergeist activity. Knocks, hot spots, mass hysteria. Nothing you haven't handled a dozen times. His voice sounded small in the open air. He crossed the gravel path to the front door. Elias stood at the front door and listened. Nothing. Just before opening the door, he heard knocking from the other side. He froze. A few heavy knocks, then silence. Elias frowned. It's probably rats. After a moment he wrapped his hand around the iron handle and pushed. The heavy oak groaned as it swung open, the sound rolling through the foyer beyond. The family, the house, had already left, running to a motel in the village after the scratching started coming from inside the walls of their daughter's room. Elias had told them he'd work alone. He always did. Frightened people got in the way. The air inside was stale, mild, rot, and a sharp, metallic bite like before a storm. He lit his lantern. Sure, he could have turned on the mansion lights, but no real investigator worked like that. The lantern was practical anyway. Not every place had working electricity. It was fitted with a yellow LED bulb. Looked like a firelight. Handy and old school at the same time. The lantern light caught the edges of the gilded frames, the polished floorboards, the high ceiling above. The place wasn't falling apart. It was kept, which somehow made it worse. A ruin you can explain, a house that's still being lived in. That's something else. He made his way to the library. The door was slightly open. He pushed it and stopped. The lights were on. Not dim, not flickering. Fully on. The chandelier above the table burning like someone had just left the room. He stood in the doorway for a moment, looking at the empty chairs, the neat rows of books, the table with nothing on it. Thermal baseline 65 degrees, ambient noise negligible, structural integrity questionable. He stepped inside, EMF meter out. The needle sat flat in the green baseline. Everything normal, everything fine, except the house had left 3 days ago, and nobody had been in this house since. He set his back down on the table and began unpacking his cameras. There was probably an explanation. Timer switch, faulty wiring. He wrote it in his notes anyway. Library lights on. No occupants. Check the breaker in the morning. The books on the shelves were out but ordered. Dust on the floor, but not much. That was when he saw it, half buried under a stack of warped newspapers, sat a silver object catching the faint light from the chandelier. Elias frowned and reached out. His fingers touched cold metal. He pulled it free. A heavy, ornate pocket watch. The metal was biting cold, not just the chill of the house, something drier, older. He turned it over in his palm. The casing was tarnished, engraved with a pattern of thorns, worn smooth from years of handling. He tried to open the latch, but it wouldn't budge. He peered at the face instead. It was ticking, but the hands were frozen at 3 o'clock. Only the seconds hand circled endlessly. A dull ache started behind Elias' eyes, sharp enough to make him stagger. He knew this watch. He didn't know how, but the feeling hit him like a fist. The way you know something from a dream, the moment you wake up. Heavy, cold, real. He shoved the watch into his pocket. The ticking sounded louder there. Even through the denim, he could still feel the cold. It's a coincidence. A common time. Just a trinket left by a previous owner. But the ache in his head stayed, pulsing in time with the slow, unsteady ticking against his hip.